ousted for the first time in more than 100 years. I'll put it another way. In more than a century, an official in the United States has been barred from holding office and barred under the Constitution's ban on insurrectionists. This is in New Mexico, where a judge is ordering the founder of the Cowboys for Trump, Couy Griffin, to be removed from his position as county commissioner. The reason? Griffin's been convicted of participating in the January 6th riot. The judge writing, quote, Mr. Griffin engaged in that insurrection. The court therefore concludes that effective January 6, 2021, Mr. Griffin became disqualified under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment from serving. Now, according to the Department of Justice, Griffin was there. He was on the Capitol steps, well within the restricted area on January 6th when he made this video.
The people are showing that they've had enough. People are ready for fair and legal elections, or this is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of it.
This is what you're going to get, and you're going to get more of it. This is, though, a history-making decision by this judge. I mean, the last time a public official was removed based on this clause of the 14th Amendment was in 1869. Now, that is according to the liberal watchdog group, which took part in the lawsuit. Now, Griffin tells Vice News, quote, all they're doing with me is laying the groundwork to do this with other people, including President Trump. And that is the big question tonight. It's whether this history-making move in New Mexico, a county commissioner, right? It's like, is this the butterfly flapping its wings that becomes the hurricane? Is that what ends up moving the needle on Donald Trump himself? The former president, who, according to leaders of his own party, called people like Couy Griffin to Washington, summoned them to violence. The former president, who is still defending what happened that day.
I met with, and I'm financially supporting people that are incredible. And they were in my office actually 2 days ago. It's very much on my mind. It's a disgrace what they've done to them. If I decide to run and if I win, I will be looking very, very strongly about pardons.
Amen.
Full pardons.
And that's now. It comes as we're learning more today about attempts by Trump and his supporters to overturn the 2020 election. There's still more to be learned. It still keeps coming out. CNN obtaining surveillance video from January 7th, 2021, which shows a local Republican official escorting two pro-Trump operatives into a county elections office. That took place on the very same day a voting system in that office was breached. The official seen on camera is also under criminal investigation for posing as a fake elector in the 2020 election. Evan Perez is out front live in Washington. So, Evan, I will start with that. You know, I referenced it sort of facetiously, right, as is this the butterfly flapping its wings? But that is the big question, right? What could this ruling in New Mexico mean for other pro-Trump officials who tried to help him overturn the election?
Well, it certainly, Aaron, is something that I think you're going to see at least attempted in other parts of the country. We know that this group, which is Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, they have tried, and other groups have tried to disqualify other people, including members of Congress in Georgia, in North Carolina, trying to use the fact that they voted or they tried to overturn the election results to try to have them disqualified from office. Those efforts have failed. In this case, the judge simply said that, you know, what he did, what Couy Griffin did, was essentially insurrection. He cited things, the fact that his involvement in the Stop the Steal movement, where Couy Griffin talked about how this was a war to keep the former President Trump in office. And he cited the fact that the fact that he seems to have no regrets about what he was doing. So this is a unique situation that happened in New Mexico. We also have somebody who this summer declined to certify the election results in the primary election in New Mexico. So that's all of the things that led to this decision by this judge in New Mexico. We don't know whether those same circumstances would apply in other cases, because keep in mind, he was present at the January 6th riot. So that's the other part of this circumstance that, you know, I think played into this judge's decision, Aaron.
All right, Evan, thank you very much. So let's go to Elie Honig now, CNN's senior legal analyst, along with Stephanie Grisham, the former press secretary for then President Trump. So Elie, let me just start with you as Evan is explaining this. How significant is this ruling that Couy Griffin, right, who happens to be the founder of Cowboys for Trump and a county commissioner, is now barred from holding office specifically because of his role on January 6th, citing the Constitution?
Well, Aaron, it's historically significant. We have not seen a judge make a ruling like this or a public official be disqualified under the 14th Amendment going back well over 100 years. The 14th Amendment, it's important to know, was passed during Reconstruction after the Civil War in 1868. It was ratified, and the idea was let's keep Confederates away from holding public office. And now we see it applied today in 2020. But understand, this is not over. There absolutely will be an appeal, because the problem here is, yes, the 14th Amendment tells us that any public official who engages in rebellion or insurrection is disqualified from holding future public office. The problem is the Constitution doesn't tell us anything about how it works. It doesn't tell us who has to make that determination. Is it Congress? Is it state legislatures? Is it federal judges? Is it a state judge like we saw in this Griffin case? Is it a jury? So all of that remains an unknown. So it's a certainty that Griffin will appeal, but still, this is the farthest any of these cases has gotten in well over a century.
Which obviously, as you point out, historically significant. And Stephanie, and yet the reality of it is, every time something like this happens, and I kind of am thinking about something like this, right? This is obviously extremely unusual. It hasn't happened in 100 years. But you have one part of the country say, oh, finally something's happening. And then the other part, the Trump loyal supporters, they get even more energized, right? Just like the Mar-a-Lago, right? You get the search of Mar-a-Lago and they're more energized. So how much would any kind of a legal effort here, or more legal efforts like this, for other Trump back officials who back Trump or Trump himself, any efforts like this to block him from running for president again, how much would that just energize his base?
I mean, I find the entire thing fascinating, and actually listening to Ellie too, that gave a lot of context, which was helpful. But, you know, of course it will energize the base. And of course it will be something that Trump and all of his minions decide to play victim and then also fundraise off of. But I think what's important is we have to remember, we're never going to change the base's mind. We're never going to change that MAGA extremist section of the Republican Party. I do think it's interesting. And even for me, I thought immediately as a citizen, wow, that shows that there are consequences to your actions. The fact that he was at the January 6th siege on the Capitol, and now there are some real consequences. And I think that will really resonate maybe with independent voters and maybe center-right voters.
So, Ellie, Couy Griffin told Vice News, and I mentioned this, but he said in part, all they're doing with me is laying the groundwork to do this with other people, including President Trump. You know, there's been a lot of talk out there, Ellie, about that, right? Whether there's going to be a push to ban Trump using the same thing, or whether, you know, he would do some sort of a plea related to what's going on at Mar-a-Lago, which would involve not running for office again. I mean, where do you think this goes?
Well, I think he's right. I do think that other groups will try to use the 14th Amendment to disqualify other members of Congress and office holders, and potentially Donald Trump himself. We've seen efforts already, Evan alluded to this in the opening, to disqualify Marjorie Taylor Greene. That effort failed. And to disqualify Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina. That effort also ran aground. But what's different about this case, Aaron, is this individual, Griffin, he pled guilty. He pled guilty to one of the January 6 cases. But what he pled guilty to was trespass. That's it, a misdemeanor. And what the judge did in this case, the state judge in New Mexico, is looked at all the factors, looked at that video that we played at the beginning and said, look, yes, he pled guilty to trespass. That's the core of this. But I also look at all the facts and conclude this is insurrection or rebellion. So it's still a long shot. I think we have to keep this in perspective, that all of this stands up and that it's applied more broadly to higher ranking federal officials, including Donald Trump. But you can bet that this will spur on, no pun intended with Cowboys for Trump, but inspire future efforts to try to disqualify others.
And Stephanie, it is in the context of many supporters of Trump were wondering how permanent the rule of law and all this will be, right? Because Trump hasn't just repeatedly praised the members of the mob that stormed the Capitol. He has promised pardons them if he's president again. I played a clip of him doing it, you know, the other day. Here he is just recently.
If I run and if I win, we will treat those people from January 6th fairly. We will treat them fairly. And if it requires pardons, we will give them pardons.
January 6th defendants are having their lives totally destroyed and being treated worse than terrorists and murderers. And if I become president someday, if I decide to do it, I will be looking at them very, very seriously for pardons.
It's a disgrace what they've done to them. If I decide to run and if I win, I will be looking very, very strongly about pardons.
Amen.
Full pardons.
Stephanie, how much of an impact are those words having right now?
Oh, well, they disgust me. I can tell you that right now. Again, I think it goes back to what I said earlier. I believe that that is something he's saying to rile up that base. He's getting out in front of that crowd. They love to hear that kind of talk, that kind of rhetoric. They love to hear him act like he's a king and just bandy about pardons like they're really not that big of a deal. But in the end, I do believe, I have to believe that that will backfire. And if he were to become the nominee, that will not sit well with women voters, with center voters, and with independents. And I do think it would backfire. You cannot treat pardons like it's candy that you just pass out at a parade. It's ridiculous and it's disgusting. And I believe that like-minded, calm thinking, rational people see that.